Well, hello there. My name is Blade, and let's review Death of a Unicorn. So, just like my first review that I posted, please keep in mind this is only my second review I'm ever posting. I will be doing a spoiler-free section and a spoiler section. So right now, I'm going to get into everything I have to say spoiler-free. The synopsis of Death of a Unicorn is as follows. When a man and his daughter accidentally hit and kill a unicorn with their car, his boss tries to exploit the creature's miraculous curative properties with horrific results. So, pretty quirky idea, like nothing like boiled down, nothing brand new, but the unicorn aspect is definitely interesting. That's definitely what got me into the theater. I also love Jenna Ortega, so I was interested to see. It's an A24 film, which always catches my attention. And then also, I thought the idea of like horror, unicorn, I was intrigued. So let me get into spoiler free what I liked about this movie. I think first and foremost, it had pretty solid acting performances. I think Jenna Ortega did really well in this role. I mean, nothing in this movie is like whoa kind of acting, but like they all gave solid performances for the most part. I think Jenna Ortega did well, as I said. I think Will Poulter was really, really funny. He really embodied what his role was supposed to represent really well. He was kind of like a rich, spoiled kid who's been coddled his whole life into thinking he has like good ideas, and they're often not good nor original ideas. Um, I'm not sure if it's T Leone or Tia Leone, but she did really well. Anthony Carrigan loved his character. He was really great. He played Griff, and his character I was always excited when he came on screen, so that was great. And then Richard Grant also great performance. Like really, I don't want to say too much on his character because I feel like it'd be a little spoiler territory, but well, maybe not because of the synopsis. So like he plays like the villain. I'll just say the villain very well. He's very you love to hate him. I think he really did a good job of also making his kind of more silliness a little grounded. The only thing I have to say on the acting front um, is that Paul Rudd, while the acting is good, obviously it's Paul Rudd, I just feel like his character is honestly kind of just not very likable, and I'm not the type to criticize movies or characters for not being likable. Not every character is meant to be likable, but I have a feeling his character is supposed to be like a little bit endearing, and I just honestly, I didn't feel the Paul Rudd magic with this particular role. Hopping off of that, I feel as though the father and daughter dynamic in this movie doesn't really work. I feel like, and I really don't think this is a spoiler to say because we just see the father and the daughter, so I think it's kind of obvious. And then also it happens within, like, it's explained, like, it's implied within, like, the first 5 minutes of the movie. The mother is not in the picture. And I just feel like if you're gonna make that a point, we either need to go all the way in with it or just not acknowledge it at all. In the film, it's kind of just this weird middle ground that I feel like we should have just not had it at all, or it should have been like really heavily like embedded in the plot, and it just wasn't. So I just didn't think it was necessary. Like I just think they could have been father daughter, and we didn't need any like backstory or anything to that. It should have just been left as is. I want to touch a little bit on the tone of this film because I have like generally good things to say, but like a little bit of a critique. I think the tone is established very well because it's obviously and it's about a unicorn. Like there's a little bit of absurdity to it, and I think going in with that premise, your like suspension of disbelief is really lowered. So I think it for what it is, it does manage to stay pretty grounded. I just kind of wish it would got honestly like a little bit even like more weird. Like we're already entering this weird territory. Like let's like really take it there. But that's not really a criticism. That's just I would like to see have gone more. But generally, I feel like the tone was for as absurd as it was very grounded. Nothing felt like it was pushing past like what you were willing to believe. Now the themes. This is where I think I've been seeing the most discourse on it with this film because there are some Like kind of, like social commentary like being made, and in my opinion, the themes in Death of a Unicorn are not super like in depth. Like they don't take a fresh look at the theme, and I'll get more into that theme in the spoiler section, but I think the writing could have definitely taken it further, but I'm not personally like upset that it didn't. I think if it would have like too surface level touched upon, then I would have maybe said that. But I think it's fine. Not everything needs to be this like super deep elevated like horror type of thing. So if you're searching for something that's going to do that, I would this maybe is not going to appeal to you, but I think on a general like I know I just said not surface level, but on a general level, I think it's fine. Like it's it's not trying to do more. I don't think the people who wrote this movie thought they were doing more than what they were putting on the table, and I'm okay with that. I think the gore, the horror aspect in this movie, when it does come in kind of more towards the middle and the final act, is fun. I do, wish it was a little bit more practical. I think that's honestly, my biggest critique is the unicorns are all CGI. Like, there's only one scene where I think Jenna Ortega's like holding like an actual like physical piece. But it's all CGI, and I wish that there was more practical effects because the gore is really fun. I think if you're into just like campy, like fun, outrageous kind of kills and like horror, you're gonna love this. But I wish I could have seen that with practical effects or at least better CGI. So now I'm going to be entering spoiler territory. You have been warned. If you don't want to know anything about this movie past, just a simple review, then get out of here. You've been warned. All right. So, the lore. There is some lore that gets introduced into this movie. And I can see how people would not like it, but I actually do. So, we kind of learn that Jenna Ortega's mother in the film, who's deceased, I guess they went to some museum or something once upon a time when she was still alive, and there was these tapestries with unicorns, and of course when they discover the unicorn, this like ding 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 in Jenna Ortega's head. She does some research about unicorns, and there's like this like lore that we discover about like how if you capture and kill a unicorn, the unicorns are going to come back to claim their own, and like only like a fair maiden can tame a unicorn. So there's all this historical like documents and stuff that perceived to be fiction at some point, but now Jen is like, this is actually like real, and I actually really like that because at first when it kind of got introduced, I was like, really, like this is like too deep. We don't need to do that. But as the movie progressed, I actually liked it because it didn't do too much. Like it wasn't this like big elaborate explanation. It just gave some context and and was like setting up what the plot of the movie would eventually be. And I actually personally really enjoyed that. I could see how some people would think it's unnecessary or half baked, but for me, it worked. Now, earlier in the spoiler free, I touched upon the themes, but now that I can kind of discuss what these themes are in the spoiler section, I want to give my 2 cents on that. This film definitely has something going on with, science and like pharmaceutical companies and like leeching off of people and wealth and the 1% elite and those types of things. And I actually really enjoyed it. I liked the specific lens. I liked how Jenna Ortega like really represented like the artist and the people, and then like the scientists and the money of it all were like the two foes, and I liked that specific lens because I almost feel like it also kind of flipped the idea on its head just a little bit. Maybe I'm looking too far into it, but it felt very facts over feelings, but in a weird way, the people who had the facts were also kind of operating off of feelings, and the feelings being like greed, whereas Jenna Ortega's side was also both facts and feelings, and that she had the facts and she felt like empathy and stuff. So it was like I thought it was an interesting dynamic personally. I can see how some people will be bothered and be like it's surface level, but I just don't think everything needs to be like this grand thing. Like sometimes just this level is fine. I think when things are less than this is when the problem is, because then it's like really just like what was the point? Now, I did notice something about the character deaths in this movie that I found interesting. It seems as though, everybody who was on this opposing side was killed off, but then at the towards the end there is one of the scientists who is researching on these unicorns that is like also brutally killed off, and I was a little surprised because I assumed everybody who was like wanting to help the unicorns would live. But once again, I could be reading too far into this, but I kind of took it as though even though her interest in studying the unicorns was very different than the interest of the people paying her to do so, she is still kind of complicit in it, and I feel like that's why she also died along with those people. And I liked that. I liked that it gave it a little bit more of like a nobody is safe. Like I was like, oh god, like maybe Jenna or Paul Rudd might actually die, because it seems they're not protecting everybody. The last thing I have to say, spoiler wise, is I thought the ending was fun. In the end, Paul Rudd ends up getting killed off, but then the unicorns bring him back to life, as well with the unicorn that got hit way at the beginning of the movie. And then the cops come and like see the carnage, and they naturally assume that Jenna and Paul Rudd's characters are if not the culprits, then at least suspicious, so they're going to take them in, and the unicorns end up coming to their rescue. And see, I think that was a fun ending. I think that just points out that this movie is not supposed to be some big like serious social commentary. Like it's definitely in there, but it's just a fun movie. It's just a fun little watch. It's nothing that's trying to be more than what it is, and generally I liked that. So those are my thoughts, comments, and opinions on Death of a Unicorn. I feel like this is a little short and I didn't have too much to say, but I think the thing is this movie, as I've said a couple times, is just fun. I don't think it's atrocious, and I don't think it's like great. I think it's just fine, and to me that's okay. Not every film needs to be some big thing. I feel like I've noticed, and maybe I'll do a let's talk about this video essay one day on this topic, but I feel like I go into movies like in in the middle or at zero, like at zero or at three. Like if we're saying like ranked out of five, and I allow the movie to progress from zero, or I allow it to go from, like down or up from the three. Whereas I feel like the culture has kind of become people go in at a 10 and let the scale go down. And I just don't agree with that mentality. Like sometimes things are just just fine. They're just passable. They're just okay, and that's all right. And I hope nobody who worked on that movie takes it as an insult. But just like it's just it's a well made, competent, entertaining movie, and that's fine. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Death of a Unicorn. I will also be posting a review of Hell of a Summer in a few days as well, and I think I will also be reviewing Warfare this month. We'll see. I know that's a little bit more of a controversial movie, but that's what you have to look forward to. Of course, there'll be a Let's Talk About, and if you haven't checked it out already, I have posted a trailer for my performance art film coming out April 25th, A Portrait of Healing. It is the conclusion to this little trilogy. I started the other two films, Blood on the Carpet and Lacuna, are also both available through YouTube and Vimeo, my website. So if you would like to check those out, I would appreciate it. But for now, I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.